Hello, everyone. This is Liz back at my house and not at the library. I am one of Derry's resident film nerds and definitely the expert of weird and cult films. And today is Tuesday, meaning it is What's on Netflix Day. We have a wide variety of stuff to watch today, so pretty much I'm hoping we hit every big interest point for people. We're going to start with two shows. The first that I'm going to recommend, I'm actually shocked it took me this long to recommend it, is The Crown, the show about Queen Elizabeth II. I am not a big royal person. I've always kind of found the obsession with the royal family a little strange. But I actually really liked The Crown. I think it's well directed, well acted. I definitely like the historical angle, and I think, regardless of what you think of the monarchy, Queen Elizabeth II is a very remarkable woman who's lived through a number of big events in her life, and she's a tough person in her own right. So, if you want sort of a historical fiction show, we have The Crown. Olivia Colman, whom I love, is now playing her in season 3, and Helena Bonham Carter plays her sister. So. I'm already loving that, and I'm just kind of waiting until we get to the Diana stuff. I do wonder how much that is going to be. I don't want to say whitewashed, but I guess massage to make it a little nicer. The other show I'm going to recommend is a show I absolutely love. There's only one season up now. The second season probably will be up there soon. Is Pose, which is a show that you can find on FX, and you can find the first 8 episodes on Netflix. This takes place in late 80s. New York City in the height of ball culture. So, a couple of weeks ago, I recommended the documentary Paris is Burning, which I believe is still on Netflix, and that was about ball culture. And that is where people, LGBTQ people in the late 80s would go. It would be like a little runway show. There'd be costuming. It would be, drag for both men and women, so drag queens and drag kings. Very theatrical, and it was a way for them to kind of have a community and celebrate themselves in a world that really seem to just not want them to exist at all. I think the show is great. Props to the show for casting transgender actors to actually play transgender characters. And I think with that we actually have a lot of good new performers now rather than just, someone just trying to get an award. It's also very colorful, and I, as a fashion person, absolutely love seeing late 80s fashion. I love me some shoulder pads of power. So I would definitely check out Pose. Now, on to movies. The first we have is a documentary, and that is the Michelle Obama documentary, Becoming. Michelle Obama's autobiography was the biggest book of 2018. I do know that I think a lot of people here read it. I think everyone read it. I know I read it. And her documentary, if you liked the book and you want to do you want to know more? Is on there. And I think she is someone where I think, regardless of how you feel about her husband, I think comes across as a very nice and genuine person. So if you're looking to kill 90 minutes and you liked her book, this might be a good companion piece. Next, we have a movie that I love from the early 2010s that kind of got forgotten for a bit, is Christopher Nolan's Inception. I think when people think of Christopher Nolan, they think of the Batman movies, which, not that I mind. I like the Batman movies, but I actually think he is fantastic at crafting movies that are made to be experienced theatrically. Dunkirk is one that I think definitely loses impact when you watch it at home. And man, I am so sad COVID pushed Tenet back. I was so hyped with those trailers, and now I'm like, I don't know when I'll see it, but I do know Christopher Nolan, of all directors, will be like, nope, that is getting a theatrical release. But Inception is another movie where it's great at home, but seeing it on a theater and seeing all of the technical work that he did, you really see how talented of a filmmaker he is. And I think there's an argument that some of his movies are kind of cold. He definitely has technique over humanity, but judging by the types of movies he's making, that might work. But I actually think he does have humanity in him. I think he's just He's akin to the older directors, some from like the 40s, who they would make noir with a lot of characters that you could relate to or people that you liked watching, but overall they just weren't concerned with like uber empathy. But I still think fantastic filmmaker, and if you want a good action movie, Inception's great. If you want a good action movie that's got a little bit of camp, well, I should say self-imposed camp. Um, I'm gonna recommend The Mask of Zorro. That is a really fun movie. It has Antonio Banderas, whom I love, Catherine Zeta-Jones, who is great, and it is a good movie that both modernizes and kind of references and does a throwback to the old Errol Flynn films. So again, different type of action movie, a lot more fun, a lot less serious than Inception, but I really wish this movie got more credit. I think there's some movies, again, they come out, just no one thinks about them again. It didn't break any boundaries, but it's good fun for, I would say, most of the family. Although now you might get questions of who's Zorro, which that just makes me feel old because this movie came out and I knew who Zorro was. Moving on. If you want an Oscar-winning romantic comedy drama, they have Netflix does have As Good as It Gets, that won both Jack Nicholson and Helen Hunt Best Actor slash Actress Oscars that year, and I think this one overall holds up. I was kind of wondering how Greg Kinnear's character would be, 2019, 2020. Overall, pretty good. Greg Kinnear's a good performer, and I do love watching Jack Nicholson. I think he can get pigeonholed as a little, not smarmy, but definitely kind of a wiseacre. But he is an actor that when you give him the right role, similar to his role in terms of endearment, he can really get down to the emotional meat of a role. And he's very good at playing complicated men who, under everything, do have hearts. I think he's great in this, so definitely check it out. If you're looking for a children's film and an animated movie, we have Mary and the Witch's Flower. Um, Despite the looks, it is not a Miyazaki film, but I believe it is. No, I don't know if it is a Studio Ghibli film, but it's a really fun fantasy movie. Pretty much perfect for all ages. Might have some scary images, but um, as someone who likes anime, this is what I hold up as good anime. It's nice, it's colorful, the animation's great. Pretty much, I would say if you want to really get to know anime, watch the movies, don't watch shows. I mean, nobody has time for 400 episodes of Bleach. Not even, I don't think even anybody right now has time for 400 episodes of a show. But still, Mary and the Witch's Flower is a great film for the whole family. Next is a movie by some of my favorite directors. I've talked about them before. A Serious Man by the Coen brothers. I think I saw this in early 2009. It is a strange movie. It's one of their stranger offerings. It's also one of their most personal films. It basically, the time that this takes place in is very similar to the world that the Coen brothers were brought up in. And there is, basically, since my upbringing was different, there is stuff that I don't get. But the Coen brothers are masterful filmmakers, and they still find a way to pull you into this. It is, I don't know if I'd call it a story of Job, but there's definitely an Old Testament style fable going on with this film, and it is very interesting to see how this movie unfolds. And that ending is one I still think about 10 years later. Finally, I'm getting to horror with our last film of the day, so if you don't like horror, feel free to skedaddle, or if you're just morbidly curious, feel free to stay. And I'm talking about the 1981 version of The Evil Dead. So I've talked about movies like Night of the Living Dead and some of the more low-budget films that I do genuinely love. Emblematic of a time when people were starting to, people could really start to make movies outside of studio system. And it was guerrilla filmmaking, almost anarchic styles. And it's not for everyone. I fully accept that. But The Evil Dead, it is something that has to be seen to be believed. And Sam Raimi, you look at his first two Spider-Man movies, we don't talk about Spider-Man 3. Or you look at the movies he's made, like Drag Me to Hell, and the movies he produces. He's so polished now. You go back and watch this, and it literally was him and a bunch of friends in a cabin in the woods with a whole bunch of prop things. And I have such a soft spot for movies like this because I'm like, man, you made this with wings and prayers. It is not for everybody. It is gross. One of the grossest movies I've ever seen. It feels almost as if a podcaster I listened to said, feels like you could catch something watching this movies, and it does. It is horrifying. It'll blow your mind with some of the stuff that they do, but it is also, from a technical angle, an incredibly impressive first feature. I mean, sort of similar to how filmmakers like Sean Baker are making films like Tangerine on their iPhones. You look at what this guy and his friends did with next to no money, and it's like, wow, he's doing tracking shots that you would see in Hollywood features. So I would say that from a filmmaking standpoint, this is still impressive. But I mean, it's called The Evil Dead. If this is not your bag, I can't say I'd recommend it. But if you're a horror fan and you want to look at one of the most well-known horror films of all time, come to this cabin. Just don't read out of that book. I mean, if there's one thing we should learn from all horror movies by now, it's please don't read out of that book, especially if you find it in a weird, creepy, dark basement and there's warnings saying please don't read. All right, I hope you've had a great day. Hopefully you'll check out some of these movies or shows, and I will see you tomorrow with What's on Prime. Bye!